We are.
All right, it is 7:06. I'll call to order the July 2nd meeting of the Amity City Council. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tasha, will you take roll first, please?
Here.
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 Here. Thank you. We'll start this evening with the consent agenda. We have the budget versus actuals, minutes from the regular city council meeting of June, our work session minutes, and minutes from the special city council meeting on June 18th. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to citizen comments or questions. This is an opportunity to present items not on the regular agenda. Please state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. We have the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office report in the packet, and I don't see them here. I don't see a DIG representative. So is there anyone in the audience with comments or questions? And no one else online. With that, we'll move into old business, of which we have none, and right into new business. So our first item of the evening is appointment of a planning commission member. Deanna Rigsby. We have her with us here tonight. Did everyone get an opportunity to look at the application? Is there anything you'd like to share with the council, or perhaps tell us why you want the position?
We bought our house. I've been here about 5 years, and I came from like the east side of the Little Inlet, so I've lived in big city Portland my whole life. There were very specific reasons why we chose Amity. There's a lot of things that I love about here, and knowing that I can get a partner would be the growth and having a say in what happens. I have small children that are going to grow up in the school system, especially. I have a Crosby 7-year-old and a 3-year-old who's going to be starting preschool. So it's super important to me to be able to be as active as I possibly can. And I have seen that it was open for a while, and so that's why I applied.
Well, thank you for the application. Thank you for being here. Is there any questions from council?
Would you mind sharing just a couple of those specific reasons why you chose Amity?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted somewhere that I knew TriMet was not potentially going to be for quite a while. That was a big issue for me. Personally, I feel like it brings a lot of homelessness, or homeless people on the TriMet line, and I didn't want that, to be honest. I was also looking for somewhere there that wasn't going to be some big boom of apartments and big city development, and I felt like Amity was a while out of that, which made me really happy. I like the small school. I like that. Sometimes I like that you can go to Dollar General and like everyone knows you. Other times not so much. But just that you're a member of the community, and you do feel that the more that you kind of extend yourself. I mean, I've been here 5 years, and so I definitely don't know a lot of people, and that's great and has its positives, but it is kind of the more I extend and get to know people, the more it's like, oh, hey, and I love that. And I love that everyone, the activities that my daughter's in, you're like, oh yeah, I know her mom is,
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to appoint Deanna Rigsby to the Amity Planning Commission to a term to expire December 31st, 2027.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of appointing Deanna Rigsby to the Amity Planning Commission to a term to expire December 31st, 2027, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Welcome, and thank you so much for your willingness to serve. Next, we have an appointment to the Amity Day Committee, and we have MSF with us as well. Everyone saw that in the packet. Is there anything you would like to tell us about yourself or why you decided to get involved?
The biggest reason that I got involved was Mama Hatch, because she's very community oriented and wanted to make the Amity Day celebration bigger. And I have experience in coordinating large events, so I can help facilitate the stage time to offer opportunity for talent show, karaoke, dancers to perform. If the activities run slow, I have enough dancers to fill that time in hopes of bringing more people into the Amity community to see what great talent it is. I would love to see this become a larger celebration where people from all over this part of Oregon want to come to Amity to see who we are and what we do. Kind of like Turkey Run used to be for McMinnville, and then that died out, and now we're only known for aliens, which is really unfortunate. I would love to see Amity Day kind of take on that same vendorship where we do it for 2 or 3 days instead of 1 day where everybody comes in and it's a fun thing for Hamilton County. So if I can help support all of you in making that happen, I would love to do that. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to appoint MSF to the Amity Day Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Quickly, I just want to say Emma has already been involved coming to our meetings. She has a lot of great ideas and a lot of willingness to step up and say, I can do that, or I'll help. And that's really what we're looking for, is people that take the initiative and just realize that we're all volunteers and wanting to make something cool happen. So it's really appreciated when someone says, I have something to add and I'm willing to do it. So I'm thankful for that. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor of appointing Emma Smith to the Amity Day Committee, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Welcome and thank you. Thank you. I got myself off. Okay, next we have approving of the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments Intergovernmental Agreement. So we received the annual intergovernmental agreement. COG typically provides legal and land use planning services for the city of Amity. This has set rates for our typical services and others that we may request as needed. Nathan had some notes here, but I am going to turn it over to him because there was an addition to this agenda item.
There was a quick addition. I received an email today from the COG, specifically from the executive director and McRae Carmichael, the community and economic development director. Basically, to boil down the letter, in light of the federal funding landscape that we're all experiencing, the COG feels the need to increase the cost for their services an additional 10%. And so they didn't send over an updated rate sheet. I wish they had included that as well, just to confirm. But as far as I'm aware, this rate adjustment is for all service fees, including hourly service fees. As I noted in the agenda item, the main ones we use are legal services and planning. And The costs for planning have increased per hour quite a bit. That rate of 133 is what they decided in March. And then, so we would add 10% to that to have our current year's rate. It's probably about 145, maybe a little more. About $150 per hour. That, I just wanted to share that update as that came through really quick this afternoon. So.
It did, about an hour and a half before the meeting, so. Any questions?
Yes. How badly do we need them?
So I will say their legal services, Tyler Yaman Millat, one of our city attorneys, and Laura Conroy, the other city attorney kind of provided by the COG. They've provided great service. They're really fast and quick, and as far as I know, they're at about $220 per hour, which is quite a bit below our other city attorney through local government law group. The planning services, we honestly don't use them a ton. I've tried to minimize how much we outsource of like normal building permits or kind of standard items, just because every time I send out questions on those, it is a few hours, right? It is a few hours of a review, and so I've tried to, between Mona and myself, handle as many of those questions as we can. There are bigger planning items though that they are essential for. They provide a lot of value and experience in navigating planning, and that's absolutely something that I would call them essential in that realm.
Okay.
So.
I just might suggest as a thought experiment, if nothing else, this might not be the last of these letters because they don't know how badly they might be hit by some things that could very easily change in the near future. We might want to consider what kind of limits Amity might consider the point where reconsidering the agreement becomes necessary depending on conditions. Just that.
So I have a statement and then a question that follows that. So I would say that this intergovernmental agreement and the membership and the ability to utilize these as needed is essential. Okay. Just like Nathan said, it's a good partnership, it's a good resource, and it's something that we're currently dependent on.
Okay.
I agree with you, right, that it can't be unlimited costs going up. But that lends to my question is that we just passed a budget that had a certain amount allocated to these type of services. What kind of change do you anticipate with did we already put in a 10% padding on those numbers, or is it something that we're going to have to reevaluate before the end of this fiscal year?
That is a great question.
Without much timing to think about it.
I would say I should add just a couple of things to this. So on larger planning projects, one thing that the city of Amity does, or that we've had a policy in place for, we're trying to be better about being consistent and fair with it, is we have applicants sign basically a waiver that the initial fee will cover a few hours, right? And then anything above and beyond that, right? If they come back with questions, if the conversations go around and around, which they can do often, those additional costs will be passed on to them. Like I said, in the past, we haven't been super consistent at having that get signed all the time. But Mona and myself have been working on that. We've been dealing with it on the other end, so I think we're going to be much more consistent up front. And so there is a mechanism in place to pass on those costs. It's what we do for engineering, it's what we do for planning. And so really the only, in theory anyway, the additional costs that the city would feel would come mainly from extra projects, which tend to be grant funded or not done through the COG services. The other, I was going to say though, I don't know that we necessarily increased the budget a lot. It's one of those that Tasha and I find really hard to estimate at the beginning of a year. Just because if we have a large application come through, like the middle school, high school project, was a lot of extra, hours, time, billing from that sense. And unless a big application comes through, we don't normally get close to our budget. So,
So the other portion of that was legal services, and I know they're no longer offering that package. And so when we went through the budget, that was one thing that I looked at, if what we had allocated would be sufficient. And it was decided that it was. But do you feel like that is something that could also be monitored throughout the year? Because personally, I found that because you've been here a while, you've learned the role, that we're not always so reliant on asking those questions.
no.
Just for like the extra reassurance, like you're feeling
Yeah.
more confident in things that you've done before.
Yes, and I'd like to agree wholeheartedly with you that I'm asking less and less, but I also find myself learning about more things that I should be asking for city attorney advice on, or diving into different projects that are different, right? Every
Yeah.
year is different, and so I feel really good about the stuff we handled in year one, but not all of it comes back up. So, but that being said, in the last couple of years, I don't think we've come very close to that
Okay,
kind of budgeted amount for legal services.
okay.
So,
So we
for
haven't been
example,
right on the line and trying to like.
I don't think so. I'm trying to find it. So like this last fiscal year, our budget was $10,000, and our estimate, at least when Tasha and I put it together, was about 6,000. Might be slightly higher if there's been a few more questions recently, but I think that 10,000 budget going forward, which is what we included in the next year's budget, I think that's within our ability.
Is there any other questions on this additional change or any of the exhibits?
I have a question. So the 10% increase, is that, like, do we know that there won't be another 10% increase in December?
That's a great question, and to Councilor Blanco's point, like,
Of not just like a next fiscal year, but within this fiscal year,
Yeah.
that could.
it could, if the COG feels that, kind of depending on that federal funding landscape, basically all of their funding comes by providing services and then getting reimbursements through grants or other federal programs. And from what I've heard from Scott Dadson, the COG executive director, those federal programs are being really, really strict or limiting how much COG can actually submit for reimbursement to like 10% or 15%, instead of what they were, like the rate that they were able to get.
It subsidized a lot of their work that they did for the municipalities.
And so if that trend continues and, program funding and grant funding becomes more and more scarce, then they may feel that need again. And
Just for the record, I see that we had someone join us on Zoom iPhone. If you could please put your name, update your name. Please and thank you. I didn't have any questions or concerns other than the ongoing concern of at some point we will max out our ability. But as of right now, it is what it is. We have this agreement in front of us. Would anyone like to move to approve or table or not approve?
I move to approve the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Government Intergovernmental Agreement for Planning and Legal Services and authorize the city administrator to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments Intergovernmental Agreement for Planning and Legal Services and authorize the city administrator to sign, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next item of new business on the agenda is approved travel organ grant agreement and RFP. I spoke with Nathan earlier, and unfortunately, Travel Oregon has not gotten us our grant agreement. So in light of not having the agreement in front of us and not being able to approve that, and not being in a position to put out the RFP, I would like to put it up for discussion whether we table this or if we want to go over the draft RFP at this time. And Nathan, do you have a preference?
Not specifically. It is worth noting that there might be requirements in that grant agreement for an RFP or anything. If you have any comments right now, I'm certainly happy to take them and make those edits or work on those changes so that I'm a little more prepared. I'm really surprised that we don't have the grant agreement in front of us. When they sent out the announcement of award, they told me that I would be receiving it to sign within the next 24 hours. And I emailed them and said, let me have a little bit more time than that so that I can get it to city council, because they wanted me to have it back to them by June 26th. And I said, let me have a little longer. But they haven't responded to that email or a follow-up email I sent a few days later asking if I just missed it or if it's like getting blocked by our junk system somewhere. I've spent some time looking through like the quarantined emails and all of that, and I'm not seeing it anywhere, so I don't know if they somehow have my email wrong on that grant agreement system.
And I looked through all my folders as well. He asked me to. It's not anywhere on my computer either.
So yeah, I really hoped to have the agreement before tonight. I apologize that we don't. I think in the agenda item I mentioned that I have a tight timeline. Don't worry about that. If we don't have an agreement, we don't have an agreement. So
I'd personally like to just table it until we have a more definitive document in front of us.
I had just a couple minor edits. Just double check your years, because there's some places where you had 2025 where you meant 2026 on the RFP. And then just throwing this out there, there is some DEI language in the proposal, which was important. It was part of the criteria. Is that something we are worried about? As far as like where Travel Oregon's getting their funding.
Yeah, I really don't think we want any kind of agreement of ours to be targeted.
it's true. This would be state funding.
Okay,
This all
and that
comes
was
from
that,
the
yeah,
state.
like where Travel Oregon is getting their funding. So if they're getting their funding from the state, then I'm not.
I believe anyway that Travel Oregon gets their funding, especially their grant funding, from transient occupancy tax at the state
Which
level.
is just state level. Okay, perfect.
But I will double check that whenever I actually get an agreement and ask, right? Because like you said, a lot of it fits the criteria of the grant proposal and the program. But if we need to modify some language and try to adjust things just so that they're kosher with everyone.
Perhaps we'll get an opportunity to reinstate the First Amendment and then it won't be necessary.
I would also suggest we table the action items, but I also have a couple notes down, just if you want to take them now. And the first one is a question. So in the description, it says to install 5 or more of the plaques, or whatever they were referred to. And then I believe it was in the scope of work section, it mentions 4.
4 to 5, I think.
Yeah, 4 to 5. So if we just want those to be the same or not. And then in the proposal requirements, it says cover letter and firm background. I don't know if that is the right language or cover letter to include firm background.
And so you,
It's not
Like,
two
is
separate
it-
items.
Yeah,
they can be the same, they can also be separate. I mean, the
Okay.
cover letter is expressing interest in the project and might include some of your experience. The firm background is like your resume, or your company's resume anyway.
okay. Just seeing the words like on their own firm background was like, I would be like, what does that mean? But probably the person reading the RFP might not. So I just wanted to know if that was how we wanted it worded. That was it. So hearing the consensus, do I have a motion to table this item?
Scroll up.
I move to table this until we have an agreement in front of us.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table this item until we have an agreement in front of us. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. We will move into RFP for Historic Preservation Plan. Nathan, do you want to give us the rundown on this as well? If there's anything in addition to the background here?
I don't know that I have too much extra. This is related to the Certified Local Government Grant Program. The city received an award of $16,000 to help develop that historic preservation plan. As I say in there, my intention is really that it's like a strategic plan for the Historic Landmarks Committee, similar to what the Tourism Committee has. I feel like that's been really helpful for the Tourism Committee to kind of have a roadmap of what they're wanting to work on and engage in, and I'm hoping that this will kind of help do the same thing, set the same tone, because the Historic Landmarks Committee has a lot of great ideas, and it's now about focusing and coming up with a strategy that will help them get there. So.
Is there any questions or comments, initial discussion?
Oh, there was another date thing on this one too, just in your timeline of make sure it's 2026 for February.
Make sure it's what? Sorry.
The year 2026, the expected completion year in your timeline.
Oh, okay.
It was just a minor edit.
That's why it's always good to have all these eyes on everything. With that, do I have a motion? Oh, quick question. Is this the one that you anticipated that there would be consultants that were interested?
I think there will be 16,000, I don't know, compared to some of the other plans we've done, feels a little low, but I'm aware of several consultants, and I've been given lots of names of groups that want to work with certified local governments, especially,
so
and with
there
this
is.
program. So
Okay, cool. That was just
I just hope the
curiosity of
budget
mine.
is realistic for what all we're looking for. So
Yeah. Okay. Right, with that, do I?
I move to authorize the city administrator to issue the final request for proposals related to the development of a historic preservation plan.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the city administrator to issue the finalized request for proposals related to the development of a historic preservation plan. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. We are on to our last item of new business. And this has to do with right-of-way permits for ODOT's ADA ramp project. So we all know that ODOT is preparing to begin construction on our curb ramps throughout the city of Amity. In preparation, they've reached out for right-of-way permits, and this is Nathan's request to discuss waiving or coming out with a discounted fee because ODOT is coming in and making improvements to our city. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing too much other than just looking at the typical right-of-way permit. The fee calculation can be a bit muchy, especially on projects that are extended over a large area. And I kind of mentioned a few things in there, right? Generally, they help cover things like public works inspections and general oversight of that project, making sure it's done to city standards and that we get everything we need replaced, done correctly. A lot of those fears go away with ODOT involved. Honestly, their standards are going to be probably higher than the city's, and their inspections of the sidewalk and ADA curb ramps are going to be much more intense than anything the city would do. And so they're going to have a lot of that construction oversight. They've also just been a really good partner. They've included me on a lot of things, and they've asked for the city's input in a lot of areas. And I know they've been looking for ways that they can help Amity have a better experience with this project, and maybe get a little extra sidewalk done here and there, help reimburse on utility relocations. I just feel like they've been a good partner, and that the standard right-of-way fee for this type of project would be a bit much for what we're actually going to be required to do.
So I have a question right off the bat that might be obvious. They are doing this in ODOT right-of-way.
So that's
The majority of it. So if someone else, if a citizen was working in ODOT right-of-way, would they be required to get an ODOT permit and a permit from the city?
not typically. If it's ODOT right away, they get a permit from ODOT. It gets really tricky on the highways. And this is something kind of new to me. I'm learning. Maybe our city attorney can even comment on it. ODOT has let me know that outside of the pavement, in most areas along Trade Street and Nursery Street, it is city right of way. And that they own pavement edge to pavement edge. There's something about a historic right for the city of Amity, well, and for a lot of cities. Like, there were a lot of cities that this was done for. But they've sent me the things where basically the city of Amity granted them highway status on those roads, but didn't necessarily give ownership of the entire right of way, if that makes sense.
Yes, so
Kind of.
if that was the precedent in the case, anyone adjacent the highways would, moving forward, get a city permit and do it to city standards, and ODOT would not have.
Unless they're working under the pavement, yes.
Okay.
And that's typically what we've done. Like the PGE replacement poles out along Trade Street, they've been working through that. I'm trying to think, there's a few other areas. Those have come through city right away, the permit process, if you will, or the city's permit process.
Yeah. Questions, thoughts?
Are there any costs that the city could expect to incur from this? I know that a lot of what you've said is that most of it will not be issue for the city because of who's doing the work.
Most of it.
I'm going to interject really quick. Councilor Bajorquez is trying to join online and waiting to be let in. So for the record, Councilor Bajorquez will be joining us at 7:40. Sorry. I just
Here.
wanted to
Sorry
get
about that.
in.
Let let me go back to your question. There are some costs that the city is going to face that we wouldn't necessarily otherwise because of their project. Like there is a utility relocation where part of our water line, where we're gonna have to relocate it, will go under the highway. And that portion of it isn't eligible for reimbursement. There's another portion though, over on Jellison Street that I'm working through the agreement with ODOT, and they're gonna reimburse us $15,000 to get that water line just a little bit lower, so that it's not in their path for sidewalks. So there will be some trade-off. The two areas where we're going to incur extra cost, if you will, are adjacent to the Fifth and Stanley Waterline project. And so we kind of lucked out in that we already have a design going right next to them, and so we just need to
Wrap that in.
ask the contractor to extend out a little bit more and bring that down. Because right now the water line sits at like 18 inches below the ground, below the surface, and it should be closer to 3 feet. Yeah. So those are things that typically the person who owns the utility has to pay for, unless it's on Jellison, right, where it was in the city right-of-way, adjacent to the highway. They can reimburse us for that portion. If I had to go out into Nursery Street, once I hit Nursery pavement, I wouldn't be reimbursed anymore. I think we're gonna be able to stop before then. Other than that, there probably is still some cost, right? And there's going to be some of my time, right? I'm gonna be attending construction meetings, making sure everything's running well, providing feedback. There's certainly gonna be aspects of that. I think it just may not be as much of public works time as normal, although it might be more of my time than normal, so that is fair.
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking for like, I think it's important to kind of do that good, the goodwill partnership thing. But are we
Looking at a bunch of costs.
looking at a bunch of costs that we're not gonna reap back?
Just gonna call out everyone for their thoughts. We'll start with you. Counselor Rachel Blanco, do you?
I don't know. It's complicated, I guess, but I mean, I always kind of tend to lean towards the more we don't have to pay, the better. So if we don't have to give them discounts or something, that would be ideal. Since we're kind of tiny.
Yeah.
It's not like we're a large city with a lot of pocket change.
Counselor Shields?
Maybe I'm running this through another project, but it seems like we had some conversations about, like, at Toro Loco is one of the locations they're doing the ramp. And we asked them to be very cognitive of their access. And did we ever hear back on that? Because there were some questions on that about they were wanting to close one of their entrances or exits or impede one of them. The language wasn't really clear.
We got confirmation from ODOT that they would send our concerns and to whoever is hired on to do the job. Like it will be noted in whatever the contractor gets, that's not to be closed.
Okay.
So then it's on them to obey that, but that is what ODOT will be letting the contractor know.
Okay, and that was just a concern we had discussed,
Yeah.
and I think I'm okay with giving the discount, personally. I think they're a good partner, yeah.
Councilor Borges, welcome. I don't know how much of that you caught, but it's we're on the right-of-way permit for ODOT. Do you have thoughts on waiving or discounting the permitting fees?
I tend to lean on not discounting them. just because it's the added cost to the city. I missed the conversation. I'm sorry, everyone. Um, but that's where I stood after reading the packet.
Councilor Thompson?
I would lean towards the discount. I don't think charging them a full, like, do all the calculations, I don't think that's necessary, but I also don't want to waive it entirely because there will be some financial burden to the city.
Councilor Michael Bonka?
This is primarily along trade and nursery, correct? Yep. Okay. I'm kind of torn just because of my regard for government, but I'd say the discount is probably reasonable.
Councilor Lucre? Typed, I'm okay with giving the discount. So I hear consensus around that. Really, that outweighs the yeses and the nos here. So does anyone mind if we turn the conversation to what a discount would look like?
Is your proposal here per curb or total, the 300 to 500?
That was total.
And how many different specific locations are we talking?
Oh, man.
Ballpark.
I don't know if I've counted. I mean, it's every intersection.
Okay.
through
It was
here, so
something
it's-
like 27,
I would say
but I'm
there's-
just pulling that out from I don't know where.
I
but
wanted to
Yeah.
say like
Yeah.
30 something,
Yeah.
yeah.
So around there, possibly more, possibly less, but
Yeah.
not just a couple.
I mean, so looking at, like, if there were 25, looking at this, your kind of worksheet for how you would figure it, I think even if we went up to like 500, that would still be saving ODOT a ton of money
It would be.
and be leaving us with hopefully enough to cover like some hours of your time. And like, is 500 enough
What?
of a discount?
I don't have the worksheets in front of me and I didn't do the math, so,
Would you like to look at my worksheet?
well, you could possibly answer for me. What would a typical permitting fee on one be?
Depends on a lot of,
Oh,
I'd say part of ODOT's issue, and the reason they've even approached me with this idea and asked is because our right-of-way permit isn't a set fee like per or flat fee per, it's a like fee per linear feet and square feet. And so if they're saw cutting clear out, on all the curbs, and then if they had to calculate which part was ODOT right-of-way, which part was city right-of-way, and exactly where, the calculations themselves would get messy and long.
the time it would
but
take
I
to
mean-
make those calculations, like the staff time that would go into that, I feel like.
He was hoping to just
so,
have a
I
flat.
mean, 5 to 10,000, does that seem like what they maybe would be paying if we calculated it all out? Something around that ballpark?
It seems plausible. For
If
reference.
it's 40 square feet or something.
Per, yeah. Now, they're not making any like super long straight cuts, but for reference, the school district, they're putting in a new water line from 3rd Street down to Sherman Street on Oak Street. And all the saw cutting and everything, we estimated that to be about $20,000. And that's the right-of-way permit that they paid.
Well, I heard ask if 500 was enough. That was the suggestion. Is there any other suggestions that might?
I'm wondering if we'd be better served to talk of it as percent rather than a straight fee.
But then we'd have to figure out what the,
Well, we have to figure it out anyway, eventually, right?
Not.
Well, I guess we did a
not-
straight fee.
if we just do it, just a, yeah. When they approached you about this, did they give you a,
They said 500.
they said, okay,
Yeah, I think he'd be willing to even go higher than that if we wanted. Like I said, mostly he seemed to not want to spend all the staff time figuring it out.
yeah.
But
I have an off the cuff suggestion of $100 per area, $100 per area. And that might look like about $3,000.
I struggle because I want to know how much we're leaving on the table.
I know.
And I have a hard time just throwing a number out there without knowing what we're giving up. That's really tough for me. I don't feel like that's very responsible for me.
I agree.
I think something is to be said of that goodwill and partnership and the fact that they're bringing something that is very valuable, not only in value of the cost. ODOT is putting hundreds of millions of dollars into these ADA ramps across the state. So it has that monetary value, but it will also increase accessibility all the way across our town. And that's something that we don't have the ability to do ourselves. And they're coming in for whatever reason. We know it's because it's mandated they do it, but they're coming in and they're giving us something nice. So one way to look at it is that we're charging them to give us an upgrade that will set the grade for the entire sidewalk. So if we want to do infill based on those, it will be engineered to ODOT grade that they have decided this is what's safest, this is what's best, these are the set elevations. That takes hours of engineer work that we wouldn't have to pay for. So you have to look at that too, is like, yes, we don't want to leave anything on the table, but our sidewalk budget would not pay for one ADA ramp. Our yearly sidewalk budget that we allocate for sidewalks would not pay for one of these corners that they're putting in.
I understand that, but they're gonna do it regardless. And as a taxpayer, I've paid into all those. I'm paying for that anyways. And so I think it's responsible as a city
To have it come back.
to have a good idea of what you're giving up or what they're paying back. I mean, I get that.
Yes.
It's, air quotes, a great discount to us as a city, but at the same conversation, all the city's paying for it anyways. So I struggle with that.
I understand what you're suggesting, that at some point in this project, they're gonna have to make those calculations.
Well, unless we give them a flat fee per spot, then they don't have to calculate anything.
Oh, well,
Yeah, but I struggle with, are we leaving 50 grand on the table and taking 3 in exchange? I'm not okay with that, personally. I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing
Yeah,
random
yeah,
numbers out there,
same.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I just don't know what the numbers are, or even, I would even accept like a gross estimate that was like in the ballpark. But I just don't have that, and I'm not comfortable making a decision without that.
So Nathan, what does the necessary timeline look like on this? Obviously, they want an answer ASAP, but is there a cutoff date?
There's not specifically ODOT, the project manager was explaining to me that he was supposed to have all of his paperwork turned in, I think tomorrow morning or by tonight. And so we came up with a solution, even just for me to sign off and say, we will give you a permit, the fees to be determined, and he was okay with that.
Up to what we have in our policy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was okay with that because mostly he just needed to turn something in that was going to show essentially the final check on their project that it could go to bid, even if they're still working out permit, right? We do that occasionally too, where we talk to ODOT, we get initial feedback on a permit, and then we go to bid even before we've fully gotten an approved permit, just because we want to keep it moving. And so I think, he was okay with doing that. He never ended up sending it to me though, so I'm not sure what happened there.
I'm just wondering your confidence in bringing back to council a rough estimate if we were to put this off either to a special council meeting in lieu of our work session, so that would be in 2 weeks, or holding off a month until August.
I think that's just fine. As long as they know that they can get a right-of-way permit, and, I mean, for all the reasons stated here, there's no reason why the city wouldn't give them a right-of-way permit, right? And so it's really just a matter of determining the exact fee. And so I think I should have thought tonight to come with a general estimate of what the fee would be.
None of us calculated it either. We had all the.
I mean, I should have thought about that, but anyway, point being, yes, I can put together some numbers and kind of get a general estimate of, you know, maybe what would one area run according to our calculations. Maybe it's not that much, and you know, maybe the whole thing, it would only be a few thousand because their scope of cutting within the city's right-of-way is relatively limited. Or maybe it's a ton, maybe it's 50,000, like you said, and in which case, yeah, I should have thought of that, and we don't want to leave that on the table. So let me, yeah, I can do some more digging and calculating and estimating.
I have one question and one thought. And the question, this might be silly. The permit fee, the $45, is that per ramp, or is that per, like, the whole scope of the whole project?
That is a good question. Generally, when we get permits, it's like one little thing at a time. Like when PGE turns in permits, it's one power pole where they, you know, cut out a square of sidewalk and then they replace it. And so we charge them, you know, the encroachment fee and like, I think the sidewalk, right? I think it's usually about that, $45, $50.
So if it was going to be 45 per location, that's already that many.
I mean, that would be about $1,500.
Yeah.
If it was 45 per, like I said, without doing some estimating on how much saw cutting will actually be involved and everything like that.
And then the other thought is that, do we think about it as money left on the table, or as money that we aren't going to need to use because we aren't going to have to do
some of the
administrative stuff that we would have to do?
Well, given the conversation of the evening and Nathan's answer, I would just ask for a motion to table this, and then we can come back with a little bit more information before we take action. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to table this until we get some more information.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to table this item until more information is available. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. That was the last of our new business. We will move into department reports, starting with our city administrator.
Did we have an added agenda item?
Oh, yep, I'm sorry.
That, I apologize, I
Nope.
spaced it and forgot to
I
add.
put it in the wrong spot. Okay, so we do have an addition. This will be item G on the updated agenda. Apologies to counselors that aren't physically with us. It got added very last minute. It is an OLCC liquor license application dated July 2nd. And it's to approve a special events liquor license application for Quelo Wineries at 416 South Trade. And the date of said thing
The 10th.
is the 10th. So,
And is this different from their standard operating license just because of the number of people? Or is it hours?
It's not, Quail Winery is the one who's actually located. It's the person.
Okay, got it.
yes.
So they're the applicant and they're the contact, but it's not them.
I'm sorry, you just got
Yeah, no, you're,
So their name is Amity Local Fest. They're not a festival, so I think they're bringing in like vendors.
okay.
Well, and it also, outdoor consumption and proposing to allow minors, so if it's just different than.
Sure. Yeah, no, it was
than
just
an
a-
operating license.
Like, oh, why would you have to have another one?
Yeah,
when you already-
and peak expected attendance of 150, so that's.
Because they do their own summer, like they have music and they have stuff in the summers anyway, so it's, okay. I was just curious.
Any questions or comments?
Is it Quelo? Is that how you pronounce it? All right.
Yeah.
I move to approve a special events liquor license application for Quelo Winery at 416 South Trade.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a special events liquor license application for Quelo Winery at 416 South Trade. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Thank you for reminding me, it just didn't stick. Okay, now we will move into department reports. I believe we all got a chance to read Nathan's city administrator report. Off the bat, is there any questions about that? Okay. Anything you want to add?
Nothing specifically to add, other than the big one has been Greg Binks, our public works superintendent. He resigned. I received his letter Friday, June 20th, and Sunday was his last day. He's currently, I think, July 3rd. Tomorrow is his last day on payroll, but he took vacation for the last few days. So, but he has resigned. We wish him the best on his next step, and we haven't gotten the job posted quite yet, but there's been a lot of extra responsibilities for myself and other public works crews to take on, but we're getting it figured out, and then we will have that job opening posted soon.
And what is the title?
So it's the public works superintendent.
Any other questions or comments? Tasha, we've received your report. Anything to add? We did not have a public works report. Was it in there?
We probably did not have one.
Okay. Library, city engineering billing report, and then city attorney and planner billing report by the COG. Was there any questions or concerns? All right, hearing none, we'll move into business from the mayor and city councilors, and we will start with council president Melissa Borges.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Councilor Shields,
I have nothing to add.
Councilor Thompson,
Nothing to add.
Councilor Rachel Blanco,
Nothing to add.
Councilor Luker. Is dry out, please be safe, lighting off Oregon, approved. Let me guess what this says. Fireworks, and have a bucket of water and a hose available. Please have a safe and wonderful 4th of July. Thank you for that addition. Councilor Michael Bongo?
Yes, I do have something. But I'll start with a question, because that'll change all of this. Is the city currently officially working with either the county or the state on the issue of the emerald ash borer beetle?
So I don't know that we have an official partnership, but it's through Yamhill Soil and Water Conservation District. They do outreach for, and then I've also heard about that through, I'm trying to think, the extension office.
Yes.
So it's more informal partnerships and just awareness.
Okay.
And so when we had the park trees surveyed, They did like a health survey on them year before last, but we don't have an official policy or plan,
Okay.
if that's what you're asking.
Yes, okay. So the reason I bring this up is because this represents an ecological disaster of enormous proportions, especially for Oregon. And it could very well affect one of our big issues we've been working on for years, which is our water. I don't know what you know about this beetle, but it's an Asian invader. It has destroyed millions of ash trees in the Midwest and on the East Coast, and it is now in Forest Grove and in other places, even in Yamhill County. The county has a quarantine on Clackamas, Yamhill, and Marion counties concerning this, meaning there's certain woods, ash, olive, white fringe, that they say you cannot move it as firewood because that's how it's one of the ways it spreads. You know, maybe people need to be especially aware of that with winter only a few months away. I'm sure people start to stack up on, you know, wood sources. But the big problem is, for example, ash swale is, you know, that's could have a huge effect. I've seen what the forests look like after these are done with it, and it looks like, you know, Berlin, 1945. It's awful. And there is no cure. Just like with the hazelnut blight. They're working on it. But if we could get a jump on it, if nothing else, for awareness, we might be able to head it off if it comes here, because it will come here. And this is especially for riparian environments, our waterways. These trees make a huge difference in that water. And that's going to affect eventually what we have to do to that water to make it drinkable and usable. Just as a long-term look, but these things are coming and they're going to cause problems.
I would love it if you had the opportunity to get with city staff, maybe make a meeting with Nathan if you have specific ideas. But I will also do more research. I appreciate you bringing it up, because public outreach just through our normal channels of the info corner and Facebook for things like the quarantine, or if there's, you know, the step up entities at the state level or the county level, if they already have compiled things for public outreach, I think that's something, yeah, we could easily circulate. I feel like I see it consensus that that's something that we could go ahead and put out.
Yeah, especially on the firewood angle, that's a real easy,
And
like,
even
thing to
for
be
keeping-
considerate of and know why, you know,
Yeah.
because, you know, you see that at all the campgrounds, but having the, like, and here's why, and this is,
Yeah, as a non-firewood user in my home,
Yeah.
I do more wood transportation in the summertime.
Yeah.
So, okay, awesome, thank you. And then final report for me, I don't have much to report on. One thing I was gonna ask for more consensus of, and I cannot remember if I brought this up. So at the Friends of the Amity Library meeting, we decided to do the school supply drive again. And I just wanted to make sure that council was fine with having City Hall be a drop-off area and using some of the storage space for school supplies for Friends of the Amity Library. Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is I had the opportunity to go with Nathan, it was virtual, but to the system development charges training. And that was really informational. It was like info dump for an hour of time. Just, I think I got like 4 pages of notes. But that'll be ongoing education, I think, on staff's part, my part, getting that to council, and it's probably something that we should look into a little deeper in the next few years. I know it was the year before last, we implemented just, we did a catch-up because those system development charges were passed with the inflationary increase to be added, and that didn't actually happen for quite a while. So we approved that jump up to current, but I don't know if we've continued to do that year to year.
Yeah.
But above it, in addition to that, it's just something we should probably look at our formulation and what our CIP plans are and what projects that those are funding, because those have probably changed since we did the water plan or the transportation plan. If our priorities have changed, then we need to have plans in place so that when that SDC money comes in, it can be utilized for the projects that we are going to move forward on. And that's all I have for the good of the order. Oh. Oh. Okay. Is that something that we should also get out, publicize?
Yeah, we can let people know.
It was not in the newsletter this last month. But it can go out in the August newsletter.
Yeah, which is when we'll get the bill that has that on it, right?
And then,
Might be nice to push some like a couple days before that, so people, because I look at my bill before I look at my newsletter.
yeah,
And I would have the utility assistance as well.
okay. How?
Took in about 15 applications.
And what did we budget for up to how many? Do you remember?
But it ended up being
No,
like
but-
80 something.
83?
It was 80 something.
Okay. So, and we decided to take those ongoing though, right? So we can keep putting out that information and then maybe check back in where we're at the 6-month mark? Okay. Or people that just didn't hear about it or thought the spots would be filled?
Yeah, we just need to, yes,
Yeah.
we just need to renew in July or June, May or June of next year.
Yeah, regardless of
Yeah.
when they, okay. Nathan, will you get that out on Facebook? And I have a request unless anyone is opposed. If the CPI was about 5%, that's one thing, but if we're putting that out there, can we also put what an average bill increase would be? Like, I think it's important to hear that that 5% increase is the equivalent of $4, like on whatever we use, 52,000 or whatever the standard is.
Yeah.
Just so people don't only hear 5% and not know that that is $4 to $6.
Yeah, we'll need to do the math on that because we also did CPI to the consumption rates, right? Or no?
Just the base rate.
Just the base rate, okay. I thought it did. Oh,
We
we'll look again.
updated the resolution and it might be both.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
That was water though. Because we have a cap at $6,000 is what our cap is.
On sewer.
on sewer.
So it's flat, like it won't go over $98 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think the water is the one where it goes up because that's where we pay for sewer is based on that.
What you're using. Yep. Council can leave that to you guys to figure out, but I think it would just be good to like make sure the public's aware. And I have it noted to make sure it's in the newsletter. Thank you, Tasha. Okay. So at this time, the Amity City Council will meet in executive session to review and evaluate employment-related performance of the Chief Executive Officer of any public body, a public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing pursuant ORS 192.6602I and ORS 192.6602E to conduct deliberations with a person we have designated to negotiate real property transactions. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision will be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to an open session and welcome the audience back into the room as there could be action taken. Before I officially open the executive session, I'm gonna ask for a 5-minute recess.
Right.
Our one audience member just. So,
Do I pause the recording for executive session?
the recording, but we also have to ask any other members to leave that are online.
Yes. The online member did leave.
They did.
So, or the online resident.
So I guess we are in executive session because I opened it by reading the script. And the only item we have left is, if action wants or needs to be taken for the city administrator's annual review. Would any counselor like to take action or make a motion?
Will that be a motion to accept the review and approve the percentage that we
Whatever,
talked about?
yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
I move to accept the annual review of our city administrator and a salary increase of 8% with the COLA and the step. Yes, equivalence.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the city administrator annual review and give a salary increase of 8%. Step and COLA equivalent. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Sorry, Mayor, before you take the vote, just the effective date of the increase would probably be.
When will that be effective?
Oh.
With an effective date of July 1.
Do you second that
Second.
amended motion?
Second the amended motion.
Okay. So all those in favor of accepting the city administrator annual review with an 8% salary increase effective July 1st, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. And with that, I will ask for a final motion of the evening.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 9:46.
It's early.